A few hours earlier, 135 hours remain. The Class 1B dorms remained quiet as the students who remained went about their day. It had been weeks since the gaslighter attack and many of the students had already been sent on their secret missions. Hey, don't you think it's strange? Tetsu said, sitting on the couch watching the news. What the hell do you mean? Yosetsu Awase asked, sitting down on the couch next to him with a bowl of rice and miso soup. Well, there hasn't been a villain attack in weeks. Tetsu said, leaning forward and putting his hands together. And, Awase asked. Tetsu shrugged. Things are kinda grim right now. Half the heroes are gone and reconstruction is still going on. Don't you think it's odd that we haven't had a villain attack yet? He asked. Awase looked up from his food in contemplation. I guess that is kinda weird. Maybe the classes that are out on their missions have been successful. The liberation the teachers keep going on about had some master plan, right? Maybe they were able to stop them. Awase asked, only receiving a shrug. Maybe. It's not like we heroes haven't been doing anything. It's just weird. Maybe I'm overthinking. I've got too much head space without Monoma shouting constantly. Is he alright? Awase asked. He's been locked up in his room. He's fine, he just hasn't had anything to shout at in the past few weeks since Class 1A split. He's waiting to be sent out on his secret mission. Tetsu said, standing and stretching. One day he'll get the spotlight he says he deserves. With a sudden crash, the one of the dorm walls of Class 1B came crashing down, crushing the metal skin user under a pile of rubble. Tetsu. Awase cried, standing and backing off from the destruction. Are you okay? What happened? Awase stared up at the enormous Nomu, his eyes full of fear, his body paralyzed from the sudden interaction. The Nomu did nothing but lean and stare back down at the bandana student. Monoma. Nieto. Where? What? Awase managed to get out. The Nomu's head tilted. Monoma. Nieto, is he here? I was told he was here. So I'm the one you're after, A overconfident voice said from the stairs. Awase turned to see Monoma standing in his extravagant pose. I see you are a person of taste. Of course you would want a student such as myself instead of any student of Class 1A. Dude, this isn't the time, Awase called out. It's after you, dumbass. Exactly, Monoma said with a scarily greedy smile. That's why it won't be expecting this. With a burst, Tetsu came crashing out from the rubble under the Nomu, fully covered in steel as he uppercutted the Nomu. The Nomu, disoriented, took a few steps back as Tetsu landed on his feet. Monoma ran forward touching the steeled teenager, turning into steel himself. There aren't many other quirks to copy. So it looks like we are steel brothers today. Monoma yelled at Tetsu, who smiled at his eagerness. Let's show him why you don't mess with Class 1B. For once, Monoma, I can get behind that raging competitive side of yours. Tetsu said, slamming his fist together. Awase. I'm sure they already know, but inform Vlad King. Tetsu said as the Nomu shook its head, preparing itself to take Monoma. Awase hesitated. As much as he wanted to help, how could his fusing quirk work here? He turned, running towards the school. Awase opened the front doors of the dorms, only to see multiple strings of blood flying towards the Nomu, impaling it. Vlad King walked through the doors, a temple pulsating in his forehead. So now they wanna attack the students, huh? Are they some of the liberation's targets? Vlad said. Did you not think the alarms would sound in the student dorms, Nomu? Sekijiro-sensei. Awase called out. Vlad put a hand on Awase's head. Don't worry, I'll handle it. Vlad said with a quick smile before focusing on the Nomu, who seemed incapacitated. Vlad started wrapping and hardening his blood around the Nomu. Vlad raised an eyebrow. Why did this Nomu seem so docile? Sekijiro sensed. Awase started to call, however the boy was thrown into a nearby wall. Awase. Monamo and Tetsu called out. Vlad, as if in slow motion, turned to barely see the flash of a skinnier Nomu, whose fist immediately impacted Vlad's cheek. Fast. Vlad moved to punch the skinnier Nomu, however Nomu had vanished right before his fist impacted. Vlad's eyes went wide as he looked around before he heard it. Monoma. Vlad quickly turned to see Monoma, being gripped by the neck and held in the air by the skinny Nomu. A sweat drop fell down Vlad's face. Super speed. With a flash, the Nomu had left with Monoma in hand, but not before uttering a single word to the larger Nomu being held by hardened blood. Defend. The eyes of the larger Nomu grew red as it stood, its muscles growing and steam coming out of its mouth. It flexed, breaking the hardened blood Vlad had around it. Sensei, Monoma called out before the Nomu and himself disappeared in a flash. No! Vlad yelled, moving to chase, however the large Nomu blocked his way, slamming the silver-haired hero into the ground, hard enough for the tile beneath them to crack. Give him back! Tetsu screamed, the steel skin quirk user shouted, charging the oversized, now muscular, Nomu. With a swing, Tetsu's fist sank into the side of the Nomu. However, the Nomu didn't flinch, simply grabbing Tetsu's arm and snapping it, the sound of steel bending. Tetsu screamed in pain as he was thrown into another wall, opposite of Awase. Moments later, large amounts of blood rose into the air, creating makeshift daggers. Vlad rose, bleeding from the forehead as he aimed. You! Give me my student back! The Nomu ran down the streets, holding Monoma by the neck as they ran. Monoma however felt the steel quirk leave his body. Immediately he touched the Nomu with his hands. With super speed he kicked the Nomu in the face, allowing the Nomu to drop him in the middle of the street. You aren't gonna take me that easy. Monoma said with a smile. With a flash he ran off down the street, the Nomu chasing right behind him. Monoma ran, the Nomu not far behind him. Monoma clicked his tongue. He was on a time limit, he couldn't shake him in time. There had to be a way. Monoma turned to view the Nomu chasing behind him, however the Nomu was not behind him. Monoma blinked. Where did it go? He looked forward only to see the Nomu, at super speed, flying towards him with newly sprouted wings. Monoma skidded to stop, trying his best to turn and run the other way, however it was too late. The Nomu scooped the boy up, flying away. Monoma struggled to free himself, however the Nomu's grip was far too great to break free. Monoma gritted his teeth, looking for a way out, for anyone to save him. However, as he looked down below, few heroes were on the scene. No one was there to save him. However, as he looked down, he noticed it. He stared at the horror down in the streets below. This isn't good at all, now is it? Monoma mumbled to himself, as he got carried away. Asagiri watched from her car as the two Nomu worked, watching a tablet with two green dots, signifying each Nomu. So the large one was defending while the skinny one made off with the boy. She smiled. Experiment successful, the doctor would be pleased. The Nomu were learning and creating their own plans. Evolving. Now then, Asagiri turned towards the facility entrance where Kurogiri was being held. Time to get the doctor's prized Nomu back. She exited the car and walked towards the doors, her badge in hand ready to use. However, when she held the badge up to the scanner, it shone red, denying her access. Asagiri frowned. Izawa. She sighed. Of course, after yesterday's talk, he would block her out. All right then. Time to do this the hard way. Usually Yosuke was here to do the heavy work for her, but it looks like the heavy work would be on her this time. Similar to Yosuke's, the veins in her arms started pulsating. She smiled as she kicked the door to the facility down. Oops, she said as she strolled in. Immediately, a line of guards held up riot shields, ready to defend at all cost. Asagiri laughed. You people really are helpless without a ton of spinless heroes to save you, aren't you? Come on, we all know each other. I've been here many times. You wouldn't hurt little old me, would you? She asked sweetly. Hold the line, one of the guards shouted. Asagiri fake sighed. Oh well, I guess I'm losing some friends today. Though don't worry, we won't be too far apart. Your bodies will make excellent nomus. In seconds, Asagiri had demolished the line of guards through the corridor, bouncing and flipping with surprising agility around each and every one, laughing as she went. Come on, you can do better than that, she called as she moved. Eventually, every guards had been fatally wounded, blood pooling over every inch of the ground. She shrugged. I did warn you. Asagiri took a badge from a dying guard and placed it to an elevator, allowing her access, and she dropped level after level until finally reaching Kurogiri's level. The elevator slowly opened to reveal Aizawa and present Mike, standing down the corridor, blocking her way. She smiled sweetly, stepping out the elevator. Why, if it isn't present Mike? Hello there, I haven't seen you in a while. I fully expected Aizawa to be here. But you, growing a backbone for once. Shut your mouth, Mike shouted back. We know you're here for Oboro. Oh, and how's that? Asagiri asked, amused. She turned her glare towards Aizawa, who had extremely red and bloodshot eyes. Asagiri's eyes grew wide. By my doctor, you spoke to Oboro. Did a piece of his personality make it through the artificial one of Kurogiri's? That would confirm my theory that a quirk holds a piece of the quirk user's personality. Or was it the dead body inside that gave way to his personality? No, it had to be the quirk, she said as she typed notes down on her tablet. You used him, Aizawa said, his eyes glowing red. Asagiri's veins went back to normal. She smiled, looking away from her tablet and at her arms. Disabling my quirk, huh? Gosh, Aizawa, the doctor really wanted you. Too bad Oboro took your place and died for you. Mike's patience broke. A shockwave of screaming came barreling at her. Asagiri had barely moments to react, however she smiled in that moment. Aizawa had blinked, already sore from holding his eyes open, the sudden shockwave surprising him. Asagiri, veins popping in her arm once again, punched the center of the shockwaves, splitting and redirecting them, muffling the sound. Asagiri, in a moment's time, covered the distance between Aizawa, Mike and herself. She jumped, aiming a kick for Aizawa's head. Aizawa, still recovering from the shock of Mike, leaned back to dodge. However, the kick didn't stop as she continued until it slammed against present Mike's head. She landed, as present Mike fell back against the wall, holding his head. Suddenly she felt something wrap around her. She looked down to see the familiar white scarf of Aizawa. Aizawa's eyes grew red once again, the veins once again disappearing from Asagiri's body. "We've got you. Stand down," Aizawa shouted, however Asagiri simply rolled her eyes behind her mechanical spectacles. "Come on, Aizawa. You should be smarter than this," Asagiri said with dilated eyes and a maniacal grin. "Did you honestly believe I'd come alone?" Aizawa flinched, doing his best not to look down the hallway, however the sound of present Mike's scream said it all. "Aizawa. Nomu incoming. Choose Aizawa. Stare at me and keep me held. Or help your friend Mike handle the Nomu. It's up to you. Mission. Or friend." Asagiri yelled happily. Aizawa gritted his teeth, turning to shine his red eyes upon the Nomu falling down the elevator and racing towards the two heroes. Asagiri grinned as the strength returned to her. She broke the scarf surrounding her, and grabbed what remained still connecting to Aizawa before slamming him against the wall, then throwing him at present Mike, both the pros collapsing to the ground as the Nomu charged them. "Goodbye Erasure, goodbye Mike. If you survive this, we'll meet again, I promise. Maybe you'll even see your friend Oboro again," she said with a smile as she calmly dusted herself off and walked towards Kurogiri's cell. The battle behind her grew quiet as she walked further down the hall until her eyes landed on Kurogiri. She kicked the door bursting off its hinges and flying until it hit the wall. "Hello there, my Kurogiri. I hear they brought Oboro out. I wonder if you remember it. Experiments for later if those two survive," she mumbled as she walked towards the sedated Kurogiri. She pulled the tubes and wires out of his body. Immediately the advanced Nomu awoke. "Dr. Asagiri. Ah, my head hurts. Like someone else was in it." "Don't worry too much about it, I need you to open a portal. First take us back to Dr. Garaki's lab in Jaku City. Then, I need you to make a portal near where Oshagiri's shrine was." "You're not going anywhere," Ochako screamed. Yosuke looked down to see Ochako barreling towards him. He had enough. Ochako grabbed him, but the moment she did, Yosuke touched her forehead. "Time for you to forget, girl." Immediately the light in Ochako's eyes went out as she too lost her memories as she now began to fall down the mountain. Yosuke landed in front of the portal, Midoriya seconds away from him. His arms pulsated. One last shot. As soon as Izuku landed, Yosuke struck the boy in the head. Once again, Izuku went cold. Yosuke, in his last waking efforts, grabbed the boy and heaved him through the portal. The portal closed. Ochako crashed to the ground. Kirishima ran towards her, holding Hima and Eri as he looked up. "Midoriya." He screamed, but it was too late. The portal had closed. Kirishima looked around. Mina, Bakugo, Ochako, Todoroki and the girls. All out cold, knocked out by whoever the guy in the trench coat was. Kirishima looked up where the portal had disappeared. What now? Suddenly, Kirishima felt vibrations in his pocket. He pulled out his now cracked phone. Momo was calling him. He answered, and brought the phone up to his ears. "Hello, Momo, are you okay? Did you inform the teach?" Kirishima started, however. "Where are you guys? Did you grab Midoriya?" You need to get back quick. Momo's voice shouted through the speaker. We failed. Midoriya's gone, Momo. What's going on? What's happening? The Nomu in the underground lab we buried. They broke free. They're running the streets. We need. The line disconnected. Kirishima's hand fell, the phone dropping to the snow next to Ochako's body as he turned towards the direction of the city. Oh no. Asterisk 123 hours remain. Question of the day, do the fight scenes make sense? How are those? Also, new name for this fanfic. My shit hit the fan academia.